I need to tell you something, and I need you to really hear me. Not later, not when this video ends, right now. Because there's a mistake people make their entire lives, and they don't even realize they're making it. It's a quiet mistake, a respectable mistake, the kind of mistake people even praise you for. They'll say you're responsible, hardworking, dependable. But sometimes the very thing people admire about you is the thing slowly stealing your life. I know this because I lived that mistake for most of my life. My name is Daniel. I'm 78 years old, and for almost 50 years I believed something that nearly destroyed my marriage. I believed that providing was love. If I worked harder, earned more, built a better life, then surely the people I loved would feel loved. That seemed logical to me, and for a very long time I was proud of it. But what I'm about to tell you took me nearly half a century to understand. And if someone had told me this when I was younger, my life would have looked very different. So sit with me for a moment, because the lesson I learned the hard way might save you years you can never get back. Let me take you back for a moment. I was about 9 years old when I first learned what it meant to be a man. Not from a book, not from a teacher, from my father. My father worked in a small repair shop just outside our town. Nothing glamorous, just long hours, grease on his hands, and the smell of metal and oil that never quite washed off. He left the house before the sun came up, and most nights he came home after it went down. I remember hearing the front door open late in the evening. My mother would already be half asleep on the couch, dinner sometimes cold on the table. And my father, he would sit down quietly, eat in silence, and then fall asleep in that same chair. As a child, I didn't understand exhaustion. What I understood was this: my father worked harder than anyone I knew. He never complained, never rested, never slowed down. And in my young mind, that became the definition of love. A man proves his love by how hard he works. A man proves his love by what he provides. At least, that's what I believed. And I carried that belief with me for the next 60 years. When I turned 22, I got my first real job. Nothing special, just an entry-level position in a logistics company. But to me, it felt like the beginning of everything. I still remember the first paycheck I brought home. I placed it on the kitchen table in front of my wife like it was a trophy, and I said something I truly believed at the time. I said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything." And I meant it. From that moment on, I made a quiet promise to myself. My family would never struggle the way my parents did. They would have a better house, better schools, better opportunities. And I believed the way to make that happen was simple: work harder than everyone else. So that's exactly what I did. I stayed late at the office, I volunteered for extra shifts, I said yes to every opportunity that promised a bigger paycheck. Promotion after promotion came slowly at first, and then faster. Each one felt like proof that I was doing the right thing, proof that I was being a good husband, a good father, a good man. But there was something happening quietly in the background of my life, something I didn't notice at the time. Because while I was building a better future for my family, I was slowly disappearing from their present. At first, it didn't feel like I was losing anything. In fact, it felt like the opposite. Every year, our life looked better on the outside. We moved into a bigger house, then a nicer neighborhood. I bought a newer car, then a second one. People around us started saying things like, "Daniel is doing really well. You're lucky to have such a hard-working husband." And every time I heard that, I felt proud. because in my mind, that was the goal: to build a life that looked stable, successful, secure. But success has a strange way of changing your schedule. The more responsibility I had at work, the more time it demanded from me. Meetings ran later. Business trips became normal. Weekends slowly turned into work days. And without realizing it, I started missing small things: my daughter's school play, my son's first football match, family dinners that happened without me. At the time, those things felt small. Work felt important. After all, I told myself, I was doing all of this for them. That's the lie hard-working people tell themselves, and I believed it completely.
I remember one evening very clearly. It was a Thursday. I came home later than usual, around 9 at night. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I walked into the kitchen expecting to see my family sitting at the table, but the table was empty. No plates, no conversation, no laughter, just silence. I asked my wife, "Did everyone already eat?" And she said something that stayed with me for years. She said, "We stopped waiting." Not in an angry way, not even in a sad way, just calmly, like it had slowly become normal. The kids had gotten used to eating dinner without me. They had gotten used to going to school events without me. They had gotten used to living their lives around my absence. And that was the moment I realized something uncomfortable. I had been working all those years to build a life for my family, but little by little, my family had learned how to live without me in it. And the worst part? At the time, I still didn't change, because work still felt more urgent than presence. A few months after that night, my wife said something to me I wasn't ready to hear. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon. For once, I wasn't at work. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open, answering emails. My wife walked in, stood there for a moment, and then sat across from me. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't accuse me of anything. She simply asked one question. "Daniel, when was the last time you were really here?" I looked up from the screen, confused. "I'm here right now," I said. But she slowly shook her head. "No," she said softly. "You're in the house, but you're not here." Then she said something that I still remember word for word. "I don't need a bigger house. I don't need another car. I don't need more money." She looked straight at me and said, "I need my husband." And in that moment, I realized something painful. All those years I thought I was giving my family everything. The one thing they actually wanted was the one thing I kept taking away: my time, my attention, my presence. You would think that moment changed everything, that I closed my laptop, quit working late, and suddenly became the husband and father my family needed. But life doesn't work like that. Habits built over decades don't disappear after one conversation. The truth is, I told myself I would change. I really believed I would. But Monday came, then another project, another deadline, another opportunity at work that felt too important to say no to. And slowly, almost quietly, I slipped back into the same pattern. Working late, missing dinners, promising my family, next week will be easier. But next week never came. Years passed like that. My children grew up faster than I expected. School turned into college. College turned into jobs. And one day I looked around and realized something strange. The house I worked so hard to provide was suddenly very quiet, because the kids had moved out, and the time I thought I would eventually have with them was already gone.
Something shifted in me that night. Not instantly, not dramatically, but quietly, like a crack forming in something I had believed my whole life. For decades, I thought love meant sacrifice. Working longer hours, taking more responsibility, carrying the weight so everyone else could feel safe. And in some ways, that belief helped my family. We had stability, a good home, opportunities I never had growing up. But here's the part no one talks about. You can give people everything and still make them feel alone. That realization hit me slowly. I began noticing things I had ignored for years. The way my wife would start telling me something, then stop halfway through because she could see I wasn't really listening. The way dinners became quiet. The way conversations turned into logistics instead of connection. Bills, schedules, responsibilities, everything except what actually mattered. And the painful truth was this. I had spent decades providing a life for my family, while slowly disappearing from it. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. All those years I thought I was being a good husband, a good father. But the truth is, I was often just a busy stranger living in the same house. My family had my support. They had my effort. They had my income. But they didn't always have me. And that's a painful thing to admit when you're nearly 80 years old. Because time has a way of showing you things when it's already too late to change a lot of them. I started remembering moments I had forgotten. My daughter asking if I could come to her school play, and me saying, "Not this time, work is crazy." My son wanting help with something important to him, and me saying, "Maybe this weekend." But the weekends were always busy too. Deadlines, emails, phone calls. At the time, it all felt necessary, important. But looking back now, those small moments were the real life I was supposed to be living. And I traded many of them for things that don't mean much to me anymore. Now listen carefully to what I'm about to say, because this is the part I wish someone had told me when I was 30. Providing is important. Of course it is. Your family needs security. They need stability. But love, real love, is not measured in hours worked or money earned. It's measured in attention, in presence, in the quiet moments when you put everything else down and simply show someone that they matter more than the rest of the world. I learned that far too late. You see, money can build a house, but it cannot create a home. Success can earn respect, but it cannot replace connection. And the cruel part about time is this. You always think you have more of it. More birthdays, more dinners, more ordinary evenings sitting together doing nothing. Until one day, you realize those ordinary moments were the most valuable things you ever had. And they passed faster than you imagined. Here's the truth I want you to take with you today. You can provide everything, but if you're not truly present, if your heart isn't there, then what you give may never reach them. I spent decades believing I was showing love, and I wasn't. But you still have time. You can decide today to be here, to listen, to watch, to hold, to notice, because that's what matters. Everything else, money, titles, things, can be replaced. But moments of presence, they are gone the second you let them slip. So ask yourself right now, who are you truly with? And who are you truly absent from? And what would change if you decided, just for today, that being there is enough? Remember this, you don't have to earn love. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to show up. And that is the most powerful thing you can give anyone.